words appear. Zoe's tips, tricks, and how-tos. On Whose Blind Life Is It Anyway? The Blind Perspective Network. And Victor Gouveia announcing. Sponsored by VIP Tech. Welcome to Zoe's Tips, Tricks, and How-Tos, the show where you get to learn how Zoe makes her life more accessible. On Whose Blind Life Is It Anyway? Brought to you by VIP Tech. I am your announcer, Victor Gouveia. Remember, if you like what you're about to hear, activate the like button and share it with your friends and family, especially if you think they can benefit from anything that's said here. And subscribe, activating the notification bell so you're notified when we go live or upload a new video. Additionally, we are live streaming on our Facebook page, Whose Blind Life Is It Anyway, and on Twitter at Blind Whose. That's BLINDWHOSE. Alternatively, if you don't like any of those formats, you might benefit from podcasts. If you have an iDevice, an Android device, an Amazon device, or a Windows device, we are available on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on Amazon Podcasts. So if you ask Alexa to play Whose Blind Life Is It Anyway, she'll go out and find it for you. Also, if you want a copy of the audio or video of this recording, send us an email, whoseblindlifeisitanyway@gmail.com, and we will send you a link to the folder on Dropbox that houses all of the episodes we broadcast on the network. On this week's tips, tricks, and how-tos, Zoe discusses liquid level indicators and how she measures liquids. So now your host, Zoe Fiogkos.
Hello everybody, welcome to Tips, Tricks, and How-Tos. And on this episode, we are going to deal with the liquid level indicator and measuring liquids in general. I have got quite a few things on my counter, quite a few gadgets. I'm going to start with the liquid level indicator. So it's a tiny thing. I'll show it to you in a second. I can actually put it in the palm of my hand and almost I can close my whole hand around it. So it's a very tiny thing. It's a square. So if you're holding it the right way, it's a square gadget, and at the bottom of the gadget, it has a curve. So I'm going to turn it upside down for a second. So let's just pretend you have your phone in your hands. If you go to the bottom edge of your phone, let's say the left bottom edge, and I don't mean on the screen, I mean the sides of the phone. So for example, let's say you have an iPhone. If you go to the bottom edge of your phone and you run your finger across, you can feel maybe your speakers, maybe your charging port, and stuff like that. If you run your finger from the left corner at the bottom of this gadget and go across, it's just a flat surface. And then you go to the side, run your finger up, and it's just a straight side going up vertically. So for example, on your iPhone, if you were to go up vertically, you might feel your power button or your volume buttons or something to that effect. But at the top, it's not a straight edge. It's a curve. So the curve is rounded. It feels like half a circle, a half moon. So as you're running your finger, you get to the top right edge, and then you go with your finger, you feel a curve. And then if you run your finger down the other side to go back to the bottom, it's a straight edge. On one side, it feels like little metal circles. It almost feels like you can insert something into them. But don't worry about what those are. I'm just telling you how it feels. So it's a flat surface, and you can kind of feel a flat edge in the center, not an edge, a flat surface, and on either side it's got two little circles. And pardon me. And I just want to show you that if I take that flat edge and put it against my fridge, it sticks. So it's a magnet. So that side that I just described with the two little circles that you can feel is a magnet. And at the top where the rounded edge is, you can put your finger, so go up the flat edge where you feel the circles, and you can feel like a half moon shape. So if you pull on that, it pulls up. That's where your battery is. So I'm just gonna take the battery out for a second. Okay, so it's a flat, a half moon thing that I just pulled up. If you pull it down, you hear it snapping. I'm gonna pull it up again with my finger, and it opens up. If you press down on this rounded edge, it'll clip back into place. So when you open this, your battery isn't on that side. It's on the other side. So you're going to flip the gadget, not the side where we described the magnet. You're going to flip it now and to the other side. And in that half moon thing that you've pulled out, compartment, that's where your battery goes. Your battery is a round, flat battery. You're going to have to get a sighted person to tell you what the number is. I think it's, I don't remember. It's 2316. I don't remember. Okay. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember. You just lie your battery flat on that half moon area. It fits right in, and you clip it back into place. Do you know if you've put the battery in right? Well, you'll find out when you try to measure a liquid. On this side, it's got a protruding piece. So we're on the opposite side of the magnet. But it's got two prongs, and you can feel these prongs with your hands. So it's got two prongs, and you can actually put your finger underneath the prongs to touch the flat surface of the gadget. So it's protruding out, and it's got flat, what was I saying? Yeah, whatever. It's a flat surface with protruding thing with two metal round pointy prongs. Okay. I actually had the battery upside down. And how did I know that? If you touch the prongs with your hands, listen to what happens. Okay, it wants to be, there it goes. So I touched the prongs and you heard a beeping. That means the battery's working. If you do that and it's not working, you probably got the battery upside down. Okay? So, how do you use this thingy? So I'm going to grab a glass of, just a glass. You're going to take your gadget with the prongs. Now you're going to turn the gadget upside down. You want the rounded part of the gadget that I mentioned. You want it facing down. So you've got the top flat edge on top. You've got the rounded part at the bottom. And you're going to put the prongs in the edge of the glass. So it's going to sit right at the edge of the glass. The prongs are in the glass, and the gadget itself, that square rounded part that I mentioned, it's on the outside of the glass. So you remember how I said I put my finger under the prongs? I could actually put my finger under, there's a space there. That space there between the prongs and the gadget is so that you can put it on the side of your glass, jar, coffee cup, things like that. So I'm just gonna turn on the tap. Actually, I won't do it with the tap. I'll do it with the jug of water so that you can hear it. Because if I do it with the tap, if the tap is running, it's going to be harder to hear. So let's say you're pouring water into a glass. You want to know how to get to the top. Now, before I actually do this, I want to tell you something. If you put your hand in the glass and feel where the prongs are, the bottom tips of the prongs are quite a ways in. So it's about, I would say, at least an inch down from the top of the glass. Maybe even a little more. If you're a person who feels that's sufficient, as soon as you hear the gadget vibrate, you feel it vibrate and you hear it beeping, you stop. But if you continue to pour, the beeping and the vibration will become more intense and louder. Because, for example, my mom, when she fills up her glasses, she fills them up almost right to the top. Now, with this gadget, you can't go all the way to the top of the glass. That's the point. Because if you go all the way to the top of the glass, you risk spilling. Okay? So, I'm just going to demonstrate it. I've got the gadget on the glass. The glass is empty. And I'm going to start pouring water into the glass. So here's what happens. So right now, if you listen carefully, you can hear the water pouring into the glass. Oh, it started to beep and it's vibrating. That means the water has, I just pulled the gadget out of the glass. That means the water touched the prongs. So it's telling you the glass is full. Stop. Okay, I'm just going to pour a little bit of the water out. We're going to do it again. I'm going to put it back in. So I poured about half the water out. Listen to how, I'm going to try to go slower. Listen to how the level indicator intensifies. Listen. So it started. So it's a at the beginning when it first detects the water, it kind of beeps. It kind of beeps a little bit and vibrates, but then as the water rises and the prongs get more covered and it's telling you, okay, we're to the max, then it continually goes beep, 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 beep. So let's listen to it again. See, so the beeping intensifies. If it was just at the beginning of the prongs, listen to the difference. So it's a little bit less and the vibration is less. But if I let it go all the way to the max, listen. Okay, so it's a faster beeping. So that's how you use a liquid level indicator. I hope my explanation was sufficient. I'm a little bad at describing shapes and stuff like that. But once you get one in your hands and you feel it, and let's say you're watching the video at the same time while you're feeling it, you'll understand what I'm talking about. It's a very tiny gadget. And you can, like I said, it's always easy access because you can just, it's a magnet, so you can just put it on your refrigerator or wherever you have a stainless or a steel surface, your microwave, your oven hood, whatever suits you. For me, the refrigerator is what suits me. You can use it for milk, juice, any type of water, coffee, tea, those types of things, drinkable things. The prongs, wipe them down with, for example, a Lysol wipe, and that's it. You can't immerse this in water and wash it. So if you're doing milk, milk does leave a residue. You don't want bad milk on your gadget, so the next time you go to use it, there's like stale hard milk on it, you're gonna take a Lysol wipe and you're gonna wipe down the prongs and make sure they're clean. If you want, you can do a little wet napkin at first. So for example here, if I take a paper towel and I wet it, just a little bit, a damp, it's going to beep at you because it's going to detect water on the napkin. So I just put the napkin and run it across the prongs, and it's beeping because it's detecting liquid on the napkin. Okay? And then maybe dry it with the dry part of the napkin, which I'm doing now. That's why it's not beeping. There's no water there. And then maybe run it with a Lysol wipe to make sure that you've gotten rid of all your bad or your liquids. Okay? So I'm just going to put this on the fridge again so I don't lose it. And just, it's a magnet like we said, so I just let it sit on the fridge and it'll stay there. So now, I've got a glass of water in front of me. I don't want to drink it. I don't want it to go to waste because in my case, this is from a spring water. But let's pretend this was juice or milk. Funnels are a very good option for blind people. I have, 25 million funnels. You can get them in various sizes. So here in my hands, I've got funnels. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 funnels, and they just, for easy storage, they just go into each other because they're big, smaller, 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 smaller. So if I wanted to maybe, what would you use a really tiny funnel from? Maybe you were measuring out something like essential oils or I don't know, maybe sesame oil, which comes in a tiny bottle, or vanilla extract, or something like that. And then, so the reason you have sizes is depending on what you're measuring and the size of your jar. So in this case, my jar, and I've got a really big one, which actually isn't for food, but I bought it because it suits me. This is actually for filling, it's just a big, humongous, when I say humongous, it's humongous. It's, I don't know, bigger than my 2 hands, maybe 3 hands, 4 hands, I don't know. It's really big. And these are actually used for people who work in the, maybe they want to pour gas into a jug, or maybe they want to use it to pour gas into a lawnmower, or antifreeze into, I don't know where you pour antifreeze in a car. I don't drive. But this is what these things are used for. But I got it because it's big. So the mouth of the funnel is huge. It's bigger than it's about the size from my wrist all the way to the end of my fingertips. And it's huge. So when I'm trying to pour something into a big jar, and I've got a big glass or a big plate or something like that, it'll fit comfortably so that I can pour without spilling. I will show you what I mean. Anyhow, so I'm just going to show you the water really quickly. So I'm just going to choose a funnel that I think is okay. And with experience, you will come to realize which funnel works for you. I would call this a medium-sized funnel. So I would take my jug of water. We could pretend it's a jug of milk. We could pretend it's a jug of juice. Let's say you poured juice into your glass and then decided you changed your mind, you don't want to drink it. You're going to throw it out? Why would you throw out a perfectly good glass of juice that nobody's touched? So you want to put it back in the jug to put it in the fridge. So you would take the tip of your funnel. So all your funnels have a open, wide mouth at the top. So it feels like a cone shape upside down. And at the bottom, it's got a rounded, almost feels like a really, really, really thick straw. So it's a narrow circle, a long, narrow circle. That long, narrow part you put in your mouth of your jug, jar, whatever it is you're using. With your left hand, you're going to hold the funnel in place. With your right hand, you're going to pick up your glass and you're going to find the funnel With your right hand, you're going to feel it where your glass is and where your funnel is, and you're going to tip the water in slowly. If you're afraid, don't go too quick because the funnel may overfill and spill out. So you go a little at a time. I heard it stop dripping. I'm going to tip some more in. I heard it stop dripping. I'm going to tip some more in. I heard it stop dripping. And there's no more in the glass. And I spilled. Is the jar wet? The jar is not wet. So, I didn't spill any out. So that's how you would do juice or water or something like that. So I'm just going to put that aside for a second. Now, let's pretend you have a recipe that calls for a tablespoon of vinegar. You're going to grab, now, so my vinegar bottle, I'm going to open it up. It's got a small mouth. What funnel fits in there? You can test out your funnels and see what fits. The one I just used for the water fits really comfortably that I don't even have to hold the funnel in place. But it's always a good idea to do so because, you know, it's not, it doesn't clip into place. It's sitting comfortably so that the funnel is straight, but we're blind. So if we try to center our, whatever we're pouring into the bottle, we could nudge it and something could spill. So it's always a good thing to put your funnel on your jar, bottle, whatever, and hold it in place, okay? So this one fits comfortably. So let's say you need a tablespoon of vinegar. Got my tablespoons. If I were to hold my tablespoon over the sink and pour vinegar into it, even if I use my cushion technique where I feel the vinegar coming to the top, my hands are not that steady, so I actually still may spill some out. So you would take a glass or a plate. So for example, where's that glass? Okay. I would take that glass, I would put my, the handle of the tablespoon resting on the edge, and then I would pour vinegar into that tablespoon. So you just heard a whole bunch of vinegar fall into the glass. Did it actually fall into my tablespoon? Well, I'm feeling with my finger and my tablespoon's full. But I've got a whole bunch, so I would take this tablespoon of vinegar and I would toss it into my recipe, whether it's whatever, cake, food, sauce, whatever it is you're using. But I've got a whole bunch of vinegar now in my glass that, why would I throw it out? So I'm just gonna put the tablespoons down and we're gonna do the same thing again. We're gonna put the funnel on the jar of vinegar. I'm gonna pick up my glass. I'm holding the funnel with my left hand, and with my right hand, I'm feeling the edge of the funnel, and I'm going to tip my glass of vinegar. And that's it. It's all back in the jar. I didn't spill a drop of it, and it's back in the jar. Now, this funnel, obviously, we just poured vinegar into it, so it needs to be washed. Because if I use it to put, let's say, my milk, then my milk's going to become sour. So that's vinegar, okay? And that's how you do your tablespoons. Now, I have to tell you that, let's say, here, I have a small cereal bowl in my hands. If you were to tip some liquid into this, I'm just going to, yeah, okay. So let's say, for example, you need, actually, let me get the milk. Hold on a second. All right. I actually have a carton of milk in my fridge, but I also have a bag of milk that's in one of those pitchers. You put the whole bag of milk and then you cut off the edge, okay? So let's say you have a recipe that calls for a 1/4 cup of milk. You would hold a 1/4 cup over your small cereal bowl and you would fill it up. Okay. It got all the way to the top. I felt it on my hands and a whole bunch dripped into the bowl. What am I going to do with that milk that dripped into the bowl? I would take my 1/4 cup of milk, I'd put it in my recipe, but I've got a whole bunch in my bowl. Well, how do I get it back in? So, this is a bag. How are you going to do it? You're going to find a funnel and you're going to get it into your hole. So, let's try here, a really tiny funnel. Let's see if this will fit into the hole that I've cut. Haha, it won't. So, I'm going to grab a scissors. Hold on. I'm going to cut the hole bigger. Okay. So now my hole is big. So I'm going to insert a funnel into the hole of the plastic bag. But the hole is at the tip of the bag. So when I insert the funnel, well, for one, you have to hold it because it's in a bag. It's not in a jar. So it's going to, if I let go, the funnel's going to fall out. And it's on its side. So because this is a bag, you're going to push the bag down a little bit and straighten the funnel in your hands. You're holding the straw-like tube that's at the bottom of the funnel. And I'm holding it in place with the bag around it, the hole. So it's in the hole, the bag is around it. I can feel the bag around that tube part. Now, you pick up your bowl, find your funnel, and tip. Guess what? Didn't spill a drop, and it's all back in the actual milk jug. Let me put this away for a second. If you're doing it with a carton, it's the same idea. The difference is, so on this carton, it's got a round cap, so you feel that triangle part of the milk carton at the top. On the side of the triangle, it's got a round cap. You unscrew that, you pour your milk out, you want to put it back in. It's the same idea. If I were to take the funnel and put it in that circle, it's not exactly straight. So you can either tip the carton a little, holding the funnel in place with one hand, and with your other hand you pick up and pour. Or you can have the carton standing properly and try to get the funnel just straight, which you can do. It takes a little practice, but you can do it. So that's how you would do it with a milk carton. Okay? So I think there's only one more other thing I want to show you guys. I'm just putting the milk back. All right, my milk doesn't want to fit in my spot where I originally put it, so give me a second. Okay, I just found a spot for it. Let me put that funnel from the milk and that little bowl in the sink. Now, I was going to show you, oh, actually, you know what, I will. Hold on. Let's say you want, so I'm going to show you two more things and we're done. Let's say you want a thick liquid, like, actually it doesn't matter if it's a thick or thin liquid, but I'm going to do oil right now. But let's say, so you have your cups. Okay. Because sometimes if you do it over a bowl, when you try to tip into the bowl, so I have another funnel in my hand, and for those who can see, they'll know what I'm talking about. If I try to grab a cereal bowl and tip into the funnel, because the funnel is small or the bowl is too big for this funnel, it may still fall out. Okay? So if you have a square container where you can use the tip. So I have some square bowls. I happen to have some square bowls, but it would work with a tupper. You could do it over a big, humongous square bowl and then find the edge of it, the corner of the bowl, because it's a square, and use the corner to tip in so that you don't spill it, okay? So that's another point I wanted to make. Now, if you don't have a large enough container or your funnel's too small, and you need, let's say, half a cup of oil, what you can do is find a container, I shouldn't say container, find a glass, a pitcher, a wide mouth jar, something that's the parameter, the diameter of the glass cup is bigger than your measuring cup. I have a stainless steel container. It feels exactly like a cup, like a glass, but it's tall and it's stainless steel. This is actually from a gadget that I have. It's called a drink mixer. This is where you kind of make smoothies and stuff. So if I insert my half cup into this, it's much bigger. The container, the stainless steel cup, is much bigger than my half cup. So if I were to take a jug of oil, I need a half a cup of, for example, oil, any type of oil. In this case, I have olive oil. If I were to hold it in place, and with my other hand, I'm going to pick up the jug, and I'm going to pour, whoops, hold on a sec. So I lifted up my measuring cup, I put it under the mouth of the olive oil jar. I'm going to go down until the edge touches, and I'm going to start filling. All right. I felt the oil come up to my fingers. I would put my finger again and I would test it out to make sure my measuring cup is full. Whatever dripped out has fallen into my stainless steel container. In your case, it might be a humongous glass. It might be a pitcher. It might be something. And then you would take this and pour it into your recipe. But in your jar now, you have a whole bunch of oil that you don't want it to go to waste, especially with olive oil. Because olive oil is really expensive, guys. Even if you're a tablespoon, I mean, it's up to you, but don't throw it out. So I'm going to choose a funnel out of all my 20 million sizes that I have here. And I'm going to see if it fits comfortably on my jar. And this one does. And I'm going to pick up my container that has my olive oil, and I'm going to find my funnel edge to edge, and then I'm going to start pouring it in. Now, olive oil doesn't make as much sound as liquid did. So pour a little, wait, and then pour again. If you're lucky, you may hear some dripping. Wait, and then pour again. Totally upside down until you're sure that you got it all in. Shake your funnel on top of the olive oil. Olive oil is thick so it can all drip. And that's it. Your olive oil has been saved. All that olive oil isn't going to go to waste. So that's the last thing I'm going to show you guys for measuring. And sorry, before I show you the last thing, remember always, you choose your containers and funnels according to size and depending on what you're doing. It may be comfortable for you to do half a teaspoon of vanilla extract into a very tiny cup or glass or measuring cup or little tiny bowl or a dessert bowl, and then use a very tiny funnel, because usually vanilla extract bottles have very tiny mouths. You would use a tiny funnel to pour your vanilla extract back. So the last thing I'm going to show you guys for today is there is also something else when it comes to funnels. These are called wide mouth funnels. I have 3 in my hands. I have a plastic one with a handle. I have a stainless steel one with a handle. And another plastic one. The reason I have 2 plastic ones is because for sighted people, I actually burnt this one. By accident, I left it on a burner and I burnt it. It's still usable, but I burnt it. So I actually got myself a new one, but I'm keeping this just in case. So I'm just gonna put that one aside, okay? So I've got 2 funnels in my hands. They're wide mouth. How wide are they? Now I have fat fingers, but I can get 4 of my fingers through the funnel opening. My mom, who has a really tiny hand, she probably could get all 5 fingers in. A child could probably comfortably, a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old could probably comfortably put their hand through the opening of the funnel. It's big. How big is it? Oh, I'm gonna show you right now. I have a mason jar. I'm gonna take off the cap and the ring, and I'm gonna put my funnel, and it sits comfortably on top of the it's flat. It fits comfortably on top of the wide mouth mason jar. So you could use this for liquids if you were filling a big jar like this and you need the mouth is wide. This is where you would use this. So if I were to take my where's that water again? Yeah. So here's my jug of water. Let's say I want to fill this jar half with, I don't know, I'm making some concoction. And I want to fill it up. I want to fill up half, a cup of water, a cup of salt, a cup of vinegar. I'm making some sort of brine or concoction. And I could use my wide mouth. Whoops. Okay, I went too quickly and I actually spilled some water out. So this is why I was telling you guys go slow. Now I'm going slow so I'm not spilling any out. Okay? But one of the main reasons I use wide mouth jars, and for those of you who watch my cooking shows, we're eventually, I'm just going to spill out that water. We're eventually going to make jam. I'm going to show you guys how to make your own homemade jam, which is, it's time consuming, but it's well worth the time, and it's homemade without preservatives. So if I was making jam right now, I would take I have a silicone mat. I would put this on my counter, flat. That makes my counter heat resistant. I would put the jar on on this silicone mat, and beside it, I would put my pot with my hot jam. Actually here, just for the sake of, yeah, okay. I just grabbed any old pot. Actually, this happens to be a big one, but it doesn't matter. So, pretend in this big huge pot, I have jam. Hot jam. I would put it on my silicone mat. Make sure the hot pot is not touching your counter. Just the silicone mat. Beside, I would have my jar, my sterile jar, and I will, when we make jam, I'll show you guys that. And I've got my wide mouth funnel on my jar. And I would take my ladle and I would scoop into my pot. I would lift up the really hot jam and I would bring it over my funnel And when I find my funnel with my spoon and I feel that my funnel's sitting in my spoon, I would tip it in. And of course, hold the funnel in place. And you would tip it in, and all the really, really hot jam would fall directly into your bottle, and it's not going to burn you, whatever. And if you do get some spills on the side, when we make jam, I'll show you guys how to clean that. But this is what you use wide mouth funnels for. You want to be able to ladle hot food into that jar. So that's basically, and of course there's always the finger technique. I've showed you many times. I actually just did it in front of you guys too. When I was feeling for liquids, when I was pouring them in, even though I have something underneath to catch my spills. So I have a 1/4 cup in my hand and I have a glass in my hand. Even though I'm going to put the 1/4 cup, the part that you fill, in the glass, I'm still going to use my cushion technique. Because even though I'm going to spill some into the glass, the less I spill, the better. So I'm still going to have my thumb on the edge of the measuring cup that's now in my glass. So as I pour, when I feel it come up to my thumb, then I'm going to stop. And I'll probably still lose some, but that's what we have the glass for underneath. So that's how you measure liquids. At least that's the way I do it. If you have any questions, by all means, please get a hold of me. I hope my descriptions, you know, sometimes us blind people, the way we see things in our minds, somebody else may not see them the same way. I hope my descriptions are sufficient. I hope my explanations are sufficient. I hope you've learned at least one little tip. The liquid level indicator is absolutely, I find it an absolute must for coffee, because boiling water is really hot. If you're making instant coffee, you put your coffee into the cup and then you want to fill up your cup with boiling water. You can't use no finger cushion techniques. You're going to burn yourself, and you're going to burn yourself bad. So liquid level indicators are, in my book, they're absolutely fantastic for really like coffee, tea, those types of things, really hot stuff. And then my funnels are really good for putting stuff back into small mouth jars. For example, the oil bottle, the vinegar bottle. Wide mouth jars are good for really hot, jam or whatever else you're making on the stovetop and you need to can it. And yeah, so remember, get lots of sizes. Have big ones, small ones, medium ones, narrow tips, wide mouth tips, so that you can use a funnel for any type of container or jar that you have. And by the way, the liquid level indicators aren't very expensive at all. Unfortunately, I don't remember how much I got one, and you can get them online. You can get them at any store that sells blind aids. In Canada, of course, you can even get it at the Canadian National Institute for the Blind. And that's it, that's all. Blind people can pour liquids without spilling them. And with experience, I promise you, you're gonna get really, really good at it. So that's it for today, guys. If you have any questions, put it in the comments section or send an email to Zoe's Blind Kitchen Corner at gmail.com or Victor's email, whose blind life is it anyway, at gmail.com. Hope this helps, and thanks for watching. Bye, guys.
Catch Zoe's tips, tricks, and how-tos every Wednesday afternoons on Zoe's Blind Kitchen Corner and Whose Blind Life Is It Anyway? The Blind Perspective Network.